What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Ultra League, and the team we're going to take a look at today is Steelix, Florges, and the Shadow Dragonite. Now, the main focus of today's video is Shadow Dragonite, because Dragonite has access to the reworked Dragon Breath this season, which means it can get to its charge moves a lot faster. And why that's important for Dragonite is it has a lot of nuke move coverage that it can access. So just down the list, we see Draco Meteor, Hyper Beam, Dragon Pulse, Outrage, and Hurricane. And by the thumbnail of today's video, you already know which one we're going to be taking a look at today. It's Stab Hurricane, which can hit fairies for neutral damage. We're going to be pairing it up with Superpower so that we can hit steals as well. So without further ado, let's hop into these battles. Okay, into the first match, we've got Thunderfang Steelix into Drifblim. This is a good lead as our fast move is super effective and the opponent is staying in, so this is a great position for us to be in. They can only hit for, I guess they could hit for super effective if they're running Mystical Fire, but most are on Shadow Ball plus Icy Wind, which means we can just let this go. Even if it was a Mystical Fire, we would be able to survive one. They end up full sending a Shadow Ball that is very little damage. In comes an Alolan Ninetales, a Shadow Alolan Ninetales at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with a Psychic Fangs and then pivot into my Florges. Florges now can absorb this energy, and then I can start spamming out my charge moves. They end up full sending a Dazzling Gleam, so I'm going to full send a charge move right back in the Moonblast, hoping to pick up the knockout, but no, the opponent instead commits a shield, but I actually end up getting the attack drop anyways, so I am fine just letting this go. Weather Ball connects. They are able to flip switch here, but now in comes the Steelix. I'm not really worried about it because Dragonite will do just fine against anything if it has enough energy, and I kind of just need to get rid of this Ninetales. So I will go for this Psychic Fangs, lowering their defense once again, and Psychic Fangs from this range just does not pick up the knockout. But I believe we can hang on from Weather Ball here, so I will just let this go, and we can. And now in comes the Dragonite. It's a Torterra in the back, and now in comes the Drifblim. But these Dragon Breaths are doing so much damage that I'm fine with just committing the shield on these double super effective Icy Wind and looking for the full farm down, because the opponent knows that I either have to go for a superpower or a triple resisted Thunder Punch to do any meaningful damage, but I'm not running Thunder Punch. Here comes a Hurricane. It one-shots the Torterra from nearly full HP, and we do see that nuke in the very first game to take that win. Another Drifblim on the lead. This time it's the Shadow, so once again just going to stay in. This opponent ends up pivoting into their Empoleon, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for 5 Thunderfangs and then catch the Hydro Cannon where it is resisted on my Dragonite. By doing so, I also sneak a Dragon Breath in, which means I outpace the opponent. So they know either a super effective superpower or Thunder Punch is coming through. They have to let it go, hoping that I go for the Thunder Punch, but I full send the superpower that picks up the knockout. Back in comes the Drifblim. Drifblim will be hit with a triple resisted superpower here, but they might think it's a Thunder Punch. So yeah, my opponent ends up shielding a triple resisted charge move. That's pretty funny. And now in comes the Steelix. Steelix, of course, can absorb this energy no problem. And with a shield advantage, we look to be in a fantastic position in the back as Virizion, which means this game is over. The opponent instantly resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Steelix into Florges. Bit of an awkward lead because, of course, Fairy Winds are resisted, but now that Florges has access to the Chilling Water, they do outpace and they can hit us for super effective damage. Fortunately, Chilling Water doesn't hit very hard, so we can absorb that no problem. And now here comes a Psychic Fangs to lower their defense, basically reverting the fact that they lowered my attack. But mine is only neutral, whereas theirs is super effective, and it does a little bit more base damage. So I'm going to take that second Chilling Water and then pivot into the Florges of my own. In comes a Shadow Dusknoir. Shadow Dusknoir will throw on alignment in order to outpace, but I'm fine with putting up a shield. They go for the Shadow Punch. Now I'm full sending a Moonblast here to either look to nearly pick up the knockout or grab a shield. The opponent lets that go, but I can still get to another Chilling Water. 4 turns versus 6, not ideal timing, but it is the only way I would have been able to outpace. And now that I have lowered their attack, I should be able to live a Shadow Punch, no problem. And we can now just going to look for the full Fairy Wind farm down, and we get it coming out with a charge move loaded. What's it going to be? It's going to be a Cobalion in the back. So Cobalion now will be hit with a neutral Moonblast that does big neutral damage. The opponent looking for the full farm down, and they do get it. But now in comes Dragonite. Dragonite, of course, will have to respect a super effective Stone Edge here, but that is okay because I can put up the shield. I have loads of shields in play, and now in comes Florges. Florges not going to be expecting a nuke move of Hurricane, so full sending it one-shots the Florges. Back in comes the Cobalion. Cobalion unable to make it to a charge move before I get there, so I'm going to build up to the superpower, bank it so that I can win CMP later, go for the Psychic Fang snipe on my Steelix. The opponent no shield that, knowing that I have that charge move loaded. They go for the Sacred Sword. It's not enough to pick up the knockout, so we get the Thunderfang farm down, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, another Florges on the lead. So we've played out this matchup before, and we're going to play it out pretty much the exact same way. The opponent will go for the Chilling Water one turn before I get to my Psychic Fangs, lowering my defense, or lowering my attack, and now I will go for the Psychic Fangs to lower their defense. Sorry, they went for the Chilling Water. I was getting all messed up with my debuff moves. Now they're going to go for the second Chilling Water. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, tank that, and then pivot into the floor just to reset that debuff. But this opponent is staying in. Now, arguably, I should have thrown the Chilling Water one turn before they make it to the Moonblast here, because now that is a full-powered Moonblast. However, because I didn't, I can now overfarm a little bit, go for a Moonblast of my own, and from this range, it should be enough to pick up the knockout on the Florges. In comes a Primeape, and if Primeape is your best answer to a Florges up energy, something is severely wrong with your team building. I end up going for the Chilling Water, lowering my opponent's attack. They're going to raise their attack right back up with a Rage Fist, and then look for the full Karate Chop farm down, and they do get it. I, of course, can't come in with my Steelix here, as Steelix would take super effective damage from the Karate Chops, so instead, in comes Dragonite. However, Dragonite is going to get outpaced here. I believe they're at 5 Karate Chops, but I will just let this go. Rage Fist connects, and now I will throw the Superpower one turn before they get to their next charge move. They end up letting that go, so that picks up the knockout. In the back is a Moltres, so all I have to do is start spamming out these Psychic Fangs so that these Thunder Fangs start adding up, and their charge moves are all completely walled here, so they're just looking for the full farm down to come out with energy loaded for my Dragonite. But if I get 2 of these defense drops, I'm thinking that maybe I can put this in a range where Dragon Breaths can get the full farm down. They end up going for the fly. I'm able to connect with one final Thunderfang, which means now it's a race to who can get to the full farm down, and it's Dragonite living on 1 HP, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, picking up a decent lead, we've got Bellibolt into Steelix, but you're going to find out pretty quick that this is actually not as good of a lead as you might expect. Bellibolt, of course, its charge moves are completely walled here, but Sucker Punch is hitting for neutral damage, and my fast move is resisted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to farm up to the Earthquake and now bait with the Psychic Fangs, knowing that most Bellibolts like to shield the first, and we do fortunately grab that shield, which is fantastic because now no matter what they connect with, Parabolic Charge or Zap Cannon, I can live this still very comfortably. They go for another Parabolic Charge, boosting their defense for a second time, but now here comes a super effective Earthquake that does big damage to the Bellibolt, putting them into the red health range. They're looking for the big move here of the Zap Cannon, but not before I get to the Psychic Fangs, lowering their defense once again. They end up resetting, going into a Guzzlord, but Guzzlord will be met with the Florges, and they don't even farm up to a Sludge Bomb, so definitely just gonna let this go. Maybe my opponent is running Brutal Swing plus Dragon Claw, meaning they are completely walled. So now I'm gonna look to pick up the knockout with the Moonblast. Moonblast easily one-shots them, and now in comes an Empoleon. Empoleon will be able to resist all of my charge moves here, so I'll go for the Chilling Water to lower their attack, hoping that means that I can survive a charge move and make it to a Moonblast, because even though Moonblast is resisted, it's stab, and Florges does have a decent attack stat, so this will do some pretty solid chip, especially because Empoleon is pretty glassy, and that actually puts them deep in the yellow health range. And now because their fast move is resisted, I could just look for a full Thunderfang farm down with the Steelix, so I am going to put up the shield. I believe my opponent is pretty close to another charge move, however, so I'm going to go for the Thunderfang farm down. Can't quite get it, so I catch onto my Dragonite instead. Dragonite can absorb this resisted Hydro Cannon pretty well, but here comes a combo play with the Bellibolt, but it does not matter. Even if you have a full-on Zap Cannon, I'm putting the shield up, I'm getting that Dragon Breath farm down. Empoleon is too low to make a charge move, so they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, seeing another Galarian Moltres, this time on the lead. The opponent's going to safe switch into an Empoleon, only to be caught on with the Dragonite, playing it out the exact same way, going for 5 Thunderfangs and the catch, and sneaking that Dragon Breath, which means I can get the superpower one turn before they get to their second charge move of the Drill Peck. The opponent ends up letting that go, knowing that they need to survive it. Can I make it to its superpower? I should have been able to, because that's 10 turns versus 12 for the farm down, but unfortunately we don't get it for whatever reason. But that's okay, because Steelix can absorb this resisted energy. Fly or Brave Bird, both resisted. Brave Bird does very little damage. In the back is a Nidoqueen, and Nidoqueen is actually kind of a core breaker for my remaining 2 Pokemon. Mud Slap hits for super effective damage on the Steelix, and it double resists the Thunder Fangs, and Poison Fang is super effective on the Florges, and yeah, the poison typing, of course, resisting the Fairy Wind and the Moonblast. So just going to have to play out this matchup in the 2-shield scenario with the Florges. I need to lower their attack as many times as I can and grab that final shield so that Steelix can take this. The opponent ends up making a pretty nice catch onto Moltres, but because the Sucker Punch is resisted, I can actually just farm right back up to the Chilling Water, taking these resisted Sucker Punches, and then in comes the Steelix. We end up getting the catch of the Fly onto the Steelix. That's going to do very little damage. Now I'm going to look for the full farm down. The opponent knows they cannot shield a charge move because I have a Chilling Water banked on my Florges, so they are likely to just let this go, hoping it's just a Psychic Fangs, but no, it is not. It's the Earthquake that knocks out the Nidoqueen, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Steelix into Florges once again. So we've seen this matchup, and we've seen how we like to play this out, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So going to take this Chilling Water. We can take it no problem. Now going to go for the Psychic Fangs, but the opponent instead makes a catch onto Cresselia. So Cresselia, of course, resisting the Psychic Fangs, but their defense is lowered. So now in comes the Florges. I was worried about a Moonblast, so I did not come in with my Dragonite, and even a Future Sight would do big damage to the Dragonite. So coming with the Florges, knowing that I can absorb energy here a little bit better, and I can lower my opponent's attack immediately with a Chilling Water, which is exactly what I did. They end up going for the Moonblast, but now here comes a Moonblast of my own. Knowing it looks like I will be able to survive a second Moonblast, so grabbing that final shield or picking up the knockout here with the Chilling Water is the goal. The opponent ends up just letting that go, and in the back is Empoleon. So I'm not going to concede that farm down. Instead, I'm going to pivot into my Steelix, knowing that I can tank 1 Hydro Cannon, and if they come back in with their lead, then I'll be in a pretty good position because I will have an energy lead. Back in comes the Florges, only to be met with a Psychic Fangs. And now, can I connect with a second Psychic Fangs? No, not before the opponent picks up the knockout with a Chilling Water. That's going to put me in a really awkward position because all I have is a full HP Dragonite and a Florges with a little bit of residual, but because I forced them to throw energy here, I will be able to outpace, making it to the Chilling Water. This will lower the opponent's attack, and they do end up putting a shield, but instead they pivot into the Empoleon. Now this is important. They wanted to reset the attack drop, but what this should allow me to do is look for a full farm down with the Dragonite. I'm not going to quite get there because the opponent had a lot of residual energy, but I can look to make it to the back-to-back superpowers before they get to a charge move, which means my opponent knows they cannot shield this, and they are of course going to be worried about my Florges making it to another charge move. So you already know I'm going to take a Chilling Water. This is resisted damage, so Dragonite actually lived that fairly comfortably. Now going to make it to a Dragonite Hurricane. No way they're going to shield a debuffed Thunder Punch, so they let that go. It ends up being a Hurricane, which knocks out the Florges, and we are able to take that win. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match. We've got Steelix into Primeape, so I'm going to save switch into Florges as I have 2 better answers in the back, and in comes a Shadow Dust Noir. Shadow Dust Noir once again throwing an alignment in order to outpace, but I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm full sending a Moonblast here, hoping that my opponent lets it go, but no, they end up committing a shield. But we get the attack drop, and we're able to make it to a second Moonblast before the opponent throws their energy. Moonblast number two puts them deep into the red health range, and with that attack drop of the first Moonblast, I think I can let this go, because I think I should be able to live it, and I can. That is absolutely massive. We end up flipping switch, so now their Primeape is going to be aligned against my Dragonite, where Karate Chop and Close Combat are resisted, as most are not running Ice Punch in the Ultra League. They end up getting the full Karate Chop farm down, but that's okay, as in comes Shadow Dragonite. They can boost their attack right back up with a Rage Fist, but that's not going to do a lot of damage to the Dragonite. They're already at a second Rage Fist, so I will end up committing the shield. Rage Fist number 2 does get shielded up, and now I can look to pick up the knockout with a superpower, but no, my opponent must have snuck an extra Karate Chop through. They get to a third Rage Fist. That does big damage. In comes a Blastoise in the back. I'm going to go down here, so I'm going to connect with a Hurricane first. That does huge damage to the Blastoise, and you know what? I can survive 2 Hydro Cannons here, and their fast move is double resisted, which means I can get the full Thunder Fang farm down before they can get out of this matchup, coming out with a Psychic Fangs loaded for the Primeape, which is absolutely huge, because I think even if I can't get to the back-to-back, 1 Psychic Fangs should be enough to nearly knock out the Primeape, and if it doesn't, they are energy dry. So there's the Psychic Fangs. Can we get the farm down in 3 Thunder Fangs? Yes, we can. So we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Steelix into Empoleon, so a bit of an awkward lead, as Hydro Cannon is super effective and Thunder Fangs are super effective. However, their fast move is resisted, and I do have a super effective charge move, but it takes me forever to get there. You can play this one of 2 ways. You can go for the Earthquake on the CP tie with their second Hydro Cannon, because you can just barely live this with a high rank Steelix, or you can go for a catch on the second Hydro Cannon and bank that for later, because if I caught that on my Dragonite, I would sneak a Dragon, or maybe not sneak a Dragon Breath, but I would be able to win CMP and outpace. But now in comes the Dragonite, and they are low enough where I can look for the full farm down. I'm willing to give them 2 shields in this matchup to get that full farm down, because I know a neutral Hurricane onto virtually anything will do huge damage, and I'm hoping Empoleon is their only Hurricane resist. So in the back is a Florges, so you already know we're full setting the Hurricane here. Do they respect the damage? No, they do not. Shout out to Holmes Lights Henry. And in comes the Florges. Florges to be met with a Virizion, but Virizion is of course not a good answer to a Florges, as we have super effective Fairy Winds and the Moonblast. The opponent will get outpaced here, making it to Moonblast number 1. Moonblast picks up the knockout on the Virizion. In comes the Florges, but now we can start spamming out these Chilling Waters, lowering my opponent's attack for good, and they are so low that a Chilling Water would be enough to pick up the knockout. The opponent now will have to go for a Moonblast to pick up the knockout. They end up going for a Trailblaze, maybe not even running it, which means they're going to get outpaced, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Steelix into Moltres once again. So just going to play out this lead, and this time the opponent pivots into a Florges. But because they threw 1 Sucker Punch, that means I am able to outpace, going for a Psychic Fangs, and now I can pivot into a Florges of my own. With their defense lowered, that means I can survive a Moonblast no problem, whereas they cannot. So they will full send the Moonblast. That puts me into the yellow health range, but I will be able to outpace the opponent, making it to a Moonblast of my own, and Moonblast from this range easily picks up the knockout on the Florges. And if that Galarian bird in Moltres comes back in here, they're not going to be able to get the farm down, so I'm going to make this even trickier for them by going for a Chilling Water, lowering their attack. They don't have to shield that up, but that will force them to throw their energy, or else I will make it to another charge move. So the opponent does exactly that. They go for the fly, and now we have the alignment that we need. In comes the Steelix. In the back is a Gastrodon, so you already know what we're going to do here. The opponent's probably not expecting me to go for a superpower right away, because that would lower my attack and defense, but I'm not running Thunder Punch. I'm running Hurricane. That one-shots the Gastrodon. The opponent instantly resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into, I believe, the final match of the video, we've got Steelix into Scizor. Of course, we've seen this matchup in the Great League before, even during this Jungle Cup, but I'm going to play it out in a pretty similar way. I know I can survive a Trailblaze no problem. That is very little damage, and their bullet punches are not adding up. The opponent ends up safe switching into a Swampert, and I kind of make a mistake here. I meant to come in with my Dragonite, but instead I come in with my Florges, and now I take big damage from the Sludge. However, I can go for a Moonblast here. This is the Shadow Swampert, so even a Chilling Water would potentially threaten some damage, but the opponent ends up putting up a shield and then over farming, CMP tying with the Chilling Water. So unfortunately, I have to give my opponent switch. However, I do have a shield advantage, and that's exactly where Dragonite wants to be. I will now put up the shield for the Sludge, because I can get to a superpower to do some meaningful damage. In comes a Feraligatr, sorry, but Feraligatr will be hit with a superpower that does big damage, and now in comes Steelix. Steelix can do a 1-shield farm down here and come out loaded with energy for whatever wants to come in, and if it's that Swampert, Earthquake will do big damage, so I will probably full send that charge move here. It's going to be the Scizor, but Scizor is also going to be outpaced as I have the Earthquake loaded. They end up putting up the shield. In comes the Swampert, but Swampert, maybe unfamiliar with how much residual energy I have, will be hit with a Psychic Fangs. I end up over farming just a little bit. Do they know how much energy I have? They do not. That is absolutely huge, because they tried to overfarm, making it to back-to-back moves, but they cannot get there before I get to back-to-back Psychic Fangs. The opponent now looking for a farm down, which is very scary, because I can not let them get that. Otherwise, they'd be able to pick up the knockout with 2 Night Slashes, but I get to into the superpower on the Dragonite, and superpower from this range will easily be enough to knock out the Scizor, and we are able to take that win. But yeah, that is Shadow Dragonite with Hurricane. This thing was so much fun to run in the Ultra League. As soon as I saw that the pacing changed because of the Dragon Breath rework, of course Dragon Breath generating more energy this season but doing less damage, I thought this would be a really cool stab moveset for Dragonite. I wasn't sure exactly what to pair with it yet. I was like, do I want to run Thunder Punch and be walled by Bellibolt with a Hurricane, or do I want to run Superpower and Hurricane, because that gives me good coverage, but there is a lot of water and a lot of flyers that Thunder Punch does give you good access to. But as you saw, even things like Drifblim were shielding up the Thunder Punch, worried about them when they didn't have to be because I didn't have it. But that the surprise nuke coverage definitely helped me in a lot of matchups. But yeah, that's going to be it for me from this video. I want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Reed Mustache, Sohan Patil, Eliana, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Alright 504, Chompus Clips, Sons of Code, and an extra special thank you to the legend trainer members on this channel: Andrew Pitten, Moosachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Estros, Fast Idiot Boss, and CD Slaskus. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.